What is intimacy anorexia? In this video, I'm going to help you understand by explaining some of the characteristics to look at. And for many of you, you're going to have answers to things that's going to explain the crazy chaos of your marriage and why other programs, other times you've reached out for help have not worked very well. But go to the website and under resources and take the self-assessment for yourself or your spouse or your partner. Now, I will warn you, if you are a true intimacy anorexic, you're going to score yourself probably better than your spouse will. So you be sure that your spouse also gets a chance to take it for you. Now, intimacy anorexia is not to mean a starvation of food. It's to mean a starvation of love. There's this withholding of love of the anorexic from or towards their partner. Now, most anorexics can take in love and receive love, but they have a very difficult time releasing it. Intimacy anorexia is also what we call an addiction to safety. They're all about staying safe, okay? Because what's happened as a little boy, little girl, this helped them survive. So somewhere along the line, they reached out for love or acceptance. And after a few times, it was like touching a hot stove. They got burned. And so they weren't dumb little boy, little girl, and they realized their caregiver, parent, loved one wasn't going to provide that. So they went inward, okay? And they are the ones that are going to protect themselves. So now, no one can do that for me except for me. And so the intimacy anorexic has gone inward. And now that they're married in a relationship, that's exactly what's destroying the relationship. Now, generally, intimacy anorexics are nice guys and nice gals. And what I mean by this, if you're married to one, you hear oftentimes, wow, you're so lucky to be married to him or her. Wow, he or she's amazing. They're great parents. But you inside, you're like, but they're a terrible husband. They're a terrible wife. They don't love me. They have this Jekyll and Hyde about them that nobody else sees except for me. Now, the intimacy anorexic also has what I call a Ph.D. They have a doctorate in making excuses. And the excuses always seem relevant and legit. However, it's always to their benefit of why they can't do something. They may, well, I got to work a lot because we need the money. I got to go run the kids around because they have events to. I got to go clean the garage. It's always a tactic, a tool to create distance with their spouse. Now, the intimacy anorexic also has what I call this ideal self, this verbal reality. And this verbal reality can be so strong that they literally judge themselves only by their intentions and what they intended to do, not what they are really doing by their behavior. So we teach here, don't believe what the addict or the intimacy anorexic says, but believe behavior. So for example, the example I give, you're married to an intimacy anorexic and you tell them, stop stepping on this sore toe. And they step on your sore toe and they didn't mean to, but it hurts, and behavior shows that they mean to because they keep doing it, even though they say they don't. So judge them by behavior, not by their words. But the anorexic is always going to judge themselves by their intentions or verbal reality or their reality of what they say it is. And this can be so severe that they actually have a diagnosable delusional disorder. Narcissism can be in place, and also things like schizoid personality disorders. So check out those, do your research on that. This individual generally also has what we call an attachment disorder. A little boy, little girl who wasn't properly loved, they were neglected or abandoned. And attachment disorder is very common with an intimacy anorexic. They're also addicted to what I call being offended, and the offense is this bitterness, this resentment, and and you can take it. We have another assessment on a line of this bitterness, resentment, this inability to forgive and their definition of forgiveness is usually kind of skewed. So we work with intimacy anorexics how to do that and get through that. The intimacy anorexic is all about blaming everyone else. Usually they grew up in a home where everybody blamed each other. They're very busy. They can be addicted to busy. They withhold love. They withhold praise. They also withhold appreciation. And they also would rather live in disappointment than ever feel disappointment again. So they have a hard time appreciating blessings and gratitude. They're always kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop. They may have a very flat facial affect. They don't smile much or express themselves very much because generally that's probably their childhood. All right, so how did this person, my loved one, become an intimacy anorexic? So there's generally a few areas. I'm just going to talk about 4 of them. But number 1 is they had an inappropriate attachment, too much or too little, to the opposite gender parent. So the little boy to his mother and the little girl to her father. Again, too much or too little attachment to the opposite gender parent will produce, if you will, can result in the little boy, little girl becoming an intimacy anorexic. They had poor parental role modeling. Maybe mom and dad were struggling with their own addictions or had their own dysfunctional home life, and now they created that for your partner in the childhood they have. Abuse and neglect, whether physical and emotional abuse. I like to rather use the word trauma. It could be physical, emotional, sexual trauma. And but the abuse maybe wasn't done upon me. It could be in things like walking into my parents having sex, or my mom bringing in numerous men into the home, or dad bringing us numerous men into the home. And then finally, they may have a present sex addiction or substance abuse problem. So these are 4 of the ways in how an intimacy anorexic has become an intimacy anorexic.